What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Long time no see. Don't mind Brutus. I probably haven't developed film for like 4 years, so I was really, I don't know if you want to say bad at it. Oh! Good thing we got that on film, huh? Dude. That's right, it's still good.
Is the red okay?
That's jokes. That's Hollywood. I haven't done a video like this before. I've seen a couple other people do it. Willem Vierbeck has a really good video on it. With everything going on in the world, I haven't been able to, get out and go to labs. I don't even think half of the ones in LA are open. Which is really annoying, and labs in general are expensive. Typically it's like $6.99, I think, at my local lab. To get my film processed, and they don't even do black and white. So I figured for color at least and black and white, I could start developing at home. You can buy a home kit from Cinestill. All in all, $90 to get into the home developing kit. That's not how much their kit costs, but after buying all the bottles and all of the equipment you need. So to start out, you're gonna need all the items that I've listed below. You're gonna need amber glasses, you're gonna need a funnel, you're gonna need temperature gauge, something waterproof. You're gonna need somewhere to fill a bath because you have to keep a constant temperature of 103 degrees. At least that's what I chose for the development process. Lastly, you're gonna need obviously the film and the film canister opener. All right, just start. All right, welcome back, everybody. We don't have the studio set up. Today we're gonna be hastily developing some film. I've been stuck inside due to COVID. That's why I got the stash going on right now. And I'm gonna show you guys how to develop your film at home with C41, Cinestill's little starter powder kit. This is all the stuff that you're gonna need. Come on in here, Matt. Show them. First things first, you're gonna need a Patterson tank. This is basically what you're gonna use as a darkroom for the most part, since you can't develop without it unless you have a darkroom. So that you can put the film inside. In your bathroom is what I'm going to be using. You got to do all the installation of the film into this in the dark, otherwise you'll ruin your film. So you definitely need this. It's just a light sealed container that you can pour all of the Blix and all the chemicals into. Next up, you're going to need, I have 3 of these, but you can do 2 if you want. You're going to need one of these, and you're going to need that to pour all the chemicals in. Right now I'm developing Cinestill 50D, Daylight 50, and then you're gonna need one of these to pop it open. And basically all you do when you get into the darkroom is don't pop open the top, make sure you pop open the bottom, and you just basically go like this, crank it off, pull out the film, go to your Patterson tank. You'll have one of these, and you just put the film on to this, and then you roll it on. All that has to be done in the dark, and then you place that inside of this. Goes inside, you close it up. You can do up to 24 rolls. I bet you can do more than that. So. Cinematographer for that, for film director. Oh, chemistry class, huh? So the first step in the process is to mix all your chemicals. Just follow all the directions in the manual to make the developer and then the Blix. It's pretty easy to do. After you mix everything together, it's a pretty straightforward process in terms of actually developing the film. So once you make all of the chemicals and they're in the amber glasses, you actually have to heat those chemicals to a certain temperature. Cinestill gives you a range, and you can choose whatever you want. I think the sweet spot's around 103 degrees. I started out doing the bath in the actual bathtub because I thought it would be easier. Dude, this'll work.
What are you doing?
I'm gonna tape it. What do you think? Dude, I think it'll easily hold.
Dude.
Don't worry.
What are you taping that? Like, no. Just hope for the best.
Dude, it's gonna go through the tape.
okay, we're making a film.
But it really wasn't. And then I finally found the other day when I was doing another development run that a little plastic lid in my sink works really, really well to stop all the water. So once you can clog something, either a bathtub or a kitchen sink, try and get to 103 degrees. I think mine for this time was 103.5. Once you get that perfect temperature in the bath, you just put the 2 amber bottles inside, 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, so that the inside liquid of the bottles, the developer and the Blix, can also be accumulated to 103 degrees. When you get into the bathroom, I can't show any of this obviously because I was in the bathroom attempting to not mess up the film. The first couple times you do this, it's definitely awkward. You're not used to working in complete pitch blackness, but after a while you kind of get your bearings and it's not that hard. You lead it into the plastic wheel and then just rotate it around a couple times in order to load the film in. And then you place that in the Patterson tank and you're good to go. Once the film is inside of the Patterson tank, you definitely want to be careful about not exposing it to light. So I actually usually work with a red light from pretty far away. It should be good inside the Patterson tank, but I just do that just in case. Can't tell if I got it in. Took me 5 minutes, not bad. And then you just want to keep monitoring throughout the process to make sure the water is still that temperature, adding cold and hot water so that you can keep that 103 degree range. Because it's really important to make sure that your developer and your Blix is at a constant temperature the entire time. And while you're actually developing the film, you want to keep putting it back into the water to make sure that it's continuously the same temperature. Once that happens, you already have your film in the Patterson tank and you can start the process. For the first 10 seconds agitation as you pour the developer A in, you want to use the little stick that comes with the Patterson tank and just twirl it around for 10 seconds. Then once you're done with that, you put on the lid and make sure it's really secure because you don't want any of the dangerous chemicals coming out. A lot of people say to wear gloves. I don't, just because I'm not as comfortable working with gloves. I feel like I'm gonna slip, or I don't know, I feel like I'm just gonna not be able to work as well in them. But I'd suggest getting some gloves because the chemicals are not good. And also make sure to open a window because the fumes from these are not pleasant. So you have your developer A inside of the Patterson tank and you've done the agitation for the first 10 seconds. Now every 30 seconds you actually have to flip over the Patterson tank, which is why I was saying make sure the lid of the Patterson tank is very secure before you do any of this. You're gonna flip it over 4 times every single 30 seconds for the remainder of the time. It's a total of 3.5 minutes. It goes by pretty quickly. I make sure to go back and kind of slowly open the lid, generally with the Blix, but sometimes with the developer, and you wanna make sure that there's no bubbles or anything. So I open up the top of the lid a little bit, let the air out, re-close it, and then tap the lid so there's no bubbles on the top. So you've done the agitation every 30 seconds for 3.5 minutes. Around the 3-minute mark, after the last agitation that I'm going to do, I open up the lid and get ready to pour it out, just because I kind of want to hit the 3.5 mark as accurately as possible. And it does take some time to pour in the chemicals and pour out the chemicals. So just keep that in mind while you're working with it. You can use the funnel to pour it back in, and you can reuse the chemicals for another, whatever, 40 rolls, maybe 30, whatever you feel comfortable with doing. It's on to the next step immediately. You should be checking between the agitations in the first 3.5 minutes of the developer whether or not the bath is still 103 degrees, because the next step comes up pretty quickly and you have to kind of pour developer A out and pour developer B in to stop the development process, which is the bleach or fix, Blix, the stop bath, whatever you want to do. It stops the film from developing. This part of the process actually takes a bit longer. It's an 8-minute cycle. Again, you're going to start your timer for the 8 minutes right when you start pouring, just because you want to be accurate with times. And for the first 10 seconds, once it's filled, you're going to agitate with that little spool stick thing. And after that, make sure you close the lid really tight because I feel like it bubbles a bit more with the Blix rather than the developer A. And then for the entire 8 minutes, which is a pretty long time, you agitate by flipping the Patterson tank every 30 seconds. For this video, it was my first time developing at home for a while, so I wasn't actually used to using this new Patterson tank and everything, and I made the mistake of not closing the Patterson tank lid as hard as I should have, essentially. I should have closed it a lot harder, and it was a little bit open, and when I flipped it around like the 6-minute mark, some of the blicks actually came out, which one is dangerous. You don't want it on your hands, you don't want it in the bath, you don't want it anywhere other than inside the Patterson tank, and two, it's just not good because now the Patterson tank doesn't have as much blicks in it.
I was agitating too hard. Great, now there's blicks in the water, dude.
Alright, well you missed it, but I poured the stop back in. And now it should be done. Now it's not light sensitive. So I'm gonna rinse the film and we're gonna see if anything came out. So your second to last step is the warm rinse. And you wanna do this to just clean the film off. And the best way to do it is with warm water. The Cinestill packet says around the same temperature that you're developing at. So I just do 103 degrees again. And the best way to do this that I've found is take your thermometer, your temperature gauge, and turn on the hot water, turn on the cold water, put it under, and try and figure out where 103 degrees is with the two knobs. It's a little bit difficult, but you'll figure it out. It's not that hard. And then I just leave the water running and pour the water into the Patterson tank 7 full times and empty it 7 full times. It gets all the chemicals off, and then it'll be ready to dry. The actual final step, which some people, don't do, is a final rinse. I like doing this because it makes sure that there's no other chemicals that might be in your tap water or minerals that might be in your tap water. So I have a Berkey filter and I use the water from that. It's room temperature, so it's perfect to use. And again, that just makes sure that there's no extra chemicals or minerals from your water, from your final rinse, that are gonna dry on your film. Another good tip that I didn't actually do for this video, but I'm gonna start doing for further home developments, is you should be using Kodak Photo-Flo, which is just a solution that sort of breaks the surface tension of the water so that when your film is drying, hanging, it actually dries without any bubbles on the film or without any water droplets on the film. It just evaporates on a more even scale. So it's pretty cheap. I'll leave a link down below, and it's really easy to use. You just take an eyedropper and drop 1 or 2 drops into your final rinse, shake it up, agitate it just a little bit, and then let it sit for a minute, and then pour out all the water, and your film is good to go. So yeah, I would definitely suggest using Photo-Flo moving forward, just because you're gonna get better results in the drying process. To remove your film, it's super easy. You do it the same way that you put the film in. You just take the spools out of the Patterson tank. I like to use the clip that I'm hanging the film on to pull it out, just so that I'm not like grabbing on and maybe slipping on the film while I'm trying to pull it out of the spools. But you want to hold the spools at the 2 ends, not the tops, so that it'll keep spinning. And you just hold it, clip the film, and pull it out. I hang it in my bathroom on the shower curtain, but you can hang it anywhere you like. The best thing to do is to just go to Home Depot, grab these black clips, and clip the film from the top, hang it, and clip the film from the bottom so that there's a little bit of tension throughout the entire film strip. And you want to do that just because a lot of film, especially when you get it back from labs, it'll be a little bit concave, it'll have a little curve to it, and that's really annoying when you go to scan, because then it's not scanning an even film negative, which will actually lead to certain parts of the image being out of focus and some certain parts being in focus, which is really annoying, and you don't want to deal with that.
The water's down in here. It went to Verdansk. Fuck the thing. Alright, let's go. This is the thumbnail.
So a lot of people will suggest getting a squeegee and actually squeegeeing your film. I don't like doing that just because if there's the off chance that maybe a tiny little piece of dust or whatever is on the squeegee, you've now ruined the entire film strip in almost every single photo because you've just run it across everything. So I'd rather just leave the water droplets and deal with it, which is actually what I did for this one. But the best thing to do that I found out was to just get a professional like film blower or a little rocket blower, and you can actually just blow from the top down entire film strip and get rid of most of the excess water that might be on it. After you're done drying your film, I would say it usually takes about like 3 or 4 hours for the film to fully dry. But to be safe, I give it 6 hours generally. All right, so that's that's developing film at home. First time during COVID. Unfortunately, I forgot to use these. Probably would have been useful because I got a little bit of stop bath on me. It worked out pretty well. The film actually came out, which is nice to see. It doesn't have any marks or anything on it, which is cool. All the stuff worked. I would say if I would redo it again, I wouldn't be filming it. You can save the bottles. I labeled them. I wish I had a Sharpie, but I don't. They can store at room temperature. I'm just gonna put them somewhere where they're not in sunlight or anything. So had a pretty hard time putting on the film onto this canister, because you have to make sure that you get it in these little slits and then you just like roll it up. But while you're rolling it up, the film is rolled this way too. So you kind of have to like use your thumbs to guide it in. Luke, hopefully the film came out well. But yeah. Thanks to Matt for filming. Once it's dry, you can go ahead and cut your film, put it in some plastic sleeves, and get ready to do the second part of the process, which would be to scan your own film. I've already made a couple videos on how to scan your own film, which I'll link below or link in the iCard if you want to check them out. Just because I use the Epson V550, which is a flatbed scanner. It's a little bit older. I think it's like $100 or $150 if you want to grab it. It's pretty useful. If you guys want to check out more images from the photo shoot with Luke Wild for Clash Magazine, you can check out the article down below. If you have any questions about my development or scanning process, make sure to comment them down below and I will try to get to them. Appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you next time. You can't film more, dude. You're gonna override all the other footage or some shit.
Did you get it on you?
Yeah, I got it when it exploded. I got it on my fucking...
Kid's got the glizzy pack.
Pants and
Show him the
shit.
knife.
It's the butter.
What do
When
we
you
do?
talk shit, they give you some toast, you give them a little bit of butter.